Sometimes I find myself falling down whole rabbit holes online of things, stories and stuff. And there's a case, there's a trial. It just ended. And I think it may qualify for trial of the century. I know that's premature to say, but I don't know. I think it's pretty incredible. The trial of Young Thug just ended. Now, if you don't know who Young Thug is, he's a rapper. It's not a dog whistle this time. All right? Young Thug is a rapper that was on trial in Fulton County in Georgia, right? Basically, the state's case, what they were alleging was that he took all of the money that he made from music and he funneled it through and to a gang called YSL, a gang that he was supposedly the leader of, right? And that's the state's case. And the judge in the case looked exhausted. I've never seen a judge act like this before. Every time the court camera cut to her, her head was in her hands. I'm not gonna act like I know the law, okay? My understanding of the law sort of begins and ends with Law and Order SVU, all right? So I know you can sustain, and you can object. I've never heard a judge be like, you can't do that. She said it a lot. And now the prosecution in the case, the prosecutor had given out a lot of plea deals. Ton of plea deals. More plea deals than I thought you could give out. I didn't have a number in my head, but this felt like an egregious amount of plea deals. It just felt like she was going to the hood like, you get a plea deal, you get a plea deal, you get a plea deal, you get a plea. She was basically giving a plea deal to everybody in Georgia but Young Thug, right? And she was giving these plea deals in return for their cooperation, their testimony that she would use to piece by piece paint the bigger picture that the state was alleging that Young Thug's the leader of YSL. Everything they do is by his direction. All his money goes through and to them, right? And the only problem is the prosecutor in this case gave plea deals to some of the least helpful people in human history, all right? I've never seen people less helpful than this. It was astoundingly unhelpful. I was helping my friend move one time. And he and I had to move a pool table. Just us. Downstairs. And our third friend was there at the bottom of the stairs just watching. And even he was more helpful than anyone that the prosecutor gave a plea deal to in this case. At least he could be like, watch your step, something. I'm gonna tell you about some of the testimony. I'm gonna need you to be patient with me because a lot of the dudes testified in this trial are going by their rapper name and they haven't made it yet. So I don't know why it's spelled like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just, I'm gonna say he for short, all right? There's one dude that was on the stand, right? And the prosecutor asked him a very specific question, very specific reason. She goes, did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party, right? Now, Rich Homie Quan is also a rapper who has sadly passed away. But his friend, to the best of my knowledge, allegedly, is a gang member, right? This whole question is to paint Young Thug as a leader of a gang. That's why he would have a problem with a different gang member coming to his party, right? So the prosecutor asked, did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party? And then this guy on the stand goes, Thug, did you have an issue with Rich Homie Quan? Never in the history of court have I seen someone ask a question by the prosecution and then go, I'll just go to the source. And so then the prosecutor goes, no, I'm asking you. Did Young Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing his friend to the party? All right? And then this guy goes, I'm not Young Thug, so I don't know. Moments later, the prosecutor's asking question after question after question, all alleging the same thing, all to the same end, right? And this dude, he's not being combative. He's not even being rude. He's just not being helpful. And so then the prosecutor pulls up, I don't know if she pulled up it exactly, but basically references his plea deal where she goes, I have right here you answering questions definitively that I'm asking you right now. And then this guy on the stand goes, y'all wrote that, I just signed it. Never in the history of court, at least that I know of, and it's like, you know, the internet especially was of two minds, because it was like people could not decide if these were like some of the dumbest people who had ever lived or legal masterminds. Because basically what this dude is saying in open court, right, is, look, you were about to give me how many years. I didn't want to do how many years, and you told me if I signed the paper, I wouldn't do how many years, right? So I signed the paper, but I'm not about to perjure myself. This dude was supposed to be on the stand for 3 hours. 3 days later. The prosecution is asking question after question after question, all to the same end, right? And, you know, references again. Look, I understand that we typed it up, but what is in this is based off of what you said to the police. This is based off of testimony you gave during interrogation. And he was like, yeah, but if you gave it to me to type up, it would say something different than what you have right there, right? Even the prosecutor was like, oh. Question after question after question after question. And finally, this dude, he doesn't snap exactly. He doesn't lose it, right? I think he just gets exhausted. And finally he says, look, I'll tell you what I told the police. I'll say anything. Like, this is a witness for the prosecution. It's absolutely insane. The whole case is insane because you even look at the fact that the case had 3 different judges. Yeah, got passed off like a bad baton. First judge was Judge, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Glanville, yeah. And this judge, he does seem to suck. Like, he does. But he also had to put up with some stuff too, because there were jurors that were fully out of pocket during this case. Just a couple of examples. There was one juror that got picked. It already took nearly a year, by the way, to pick a jury, which is insane. And then after they picked the jury, there's one juror that during the trial has started, and I think they just went to the Dominican Republic. Deputies got sent to their house, were knocking on the door, everything, and then they got back, and they had to appear in court, and the judge was like, you have jury, you have to be here to be on the jury. And they were like, every day? That sounds wildly inconvenient. Then the judge was ready to, hold this jury in contempt and was basically giving them an out, because this judge in particular loved contempt. He had a lot of contempt. The entire trial full of contempt. And gave the juror a way out. He was like, look, I could send you to jail, I could fine you, but what I'm gonna have you do instead is write me a 30-page paper on the importance of being a juror. This dude sentenced her to APA style. He sentenced her to citing sources. You couldn't see his face in the moment, but even Thug was like, damn. That's cruel and unusual. I've never heard of that before. There was another juror that I admittedly, I don't even know what happened with this person, but I know that they got in trouble for for live streaming the case. Which is extra crazy because it was being live streamed. Like, if you had been watching at home, you would just see them sitting with the jury like... You risk jail time for an extra angle. We are... Judge Glanville, oof. There was a lot of plea deals being given out the entire case, like I said before, and some of the things that were happening was this is me guessing, but there were people that were not being super forthcoming, that they probably didn't necessarily have to be, but they were in some sort of trouble, and so the plea deal was just given just as an extra. It's okay, you can talk. We just need to get this guy, right? And even with that, there were still people that didn't quite want to testify. And then there were people that were being so difficult, state's witnesses who were being so difficult that the state just could not get anywhere, And there was one person, star witness. Basically, the prosecution needed a through line. They needed something that would connect everything. And so they laid a lot of it on one person in particular. Okay? And they needed his testimony so bad that they pretty much gave him immunity on the stand. I didn't even know you could do that. It sounds made up. It sounds fake. I feel like he thought it was fake too, because he was like, immunity on, so if I say something on the stand, answering one of your questions, and it implicates Thug, but it also implicates me, I'm okay? Yeah, you're okay, you have immunity. Immunity on the stand, you're gonna be good. You sure? Yeah, you're gonna be good. Okay, I'm not even joking. He goes, okay. Okay, but What if it's federal? And I love that. I love a good haggle. I love like, okay, I hear immunity, but can I get a federal? Can I get some federal? Federal, please. Can I get a little federal? Oh, it's beautiful. This dude gets all the stab, and you can tell he doesn't trust it. You can tell he's like, nah, they're up to something. Doesn't want to answer any questions, but we told you have immunity. All right. Basically compelling this man to testify, dangling immunity in his face. Sits on the stand. First question from a prosecutor. How old are you? And he goes, grown. And the prosecutor's like, what do you mean by grown? He's like, I'm an adult. Prosecutor is like, okay, seeing as you're an adult, how many years is that? And then he goes, looks over at the judge. I plead the fifth. Truly incredible work. Truly phenomenal, They would be asking him lots of questions, question after question. And it was getting frustrating for the prosecution. It was getting frustrating for the judge because, look, maybe I'm doing my best to be as fair as possible. But when you watch a case like this, it does just seem like if you're a defendant, you're up against two parties. You're up against the prosecution and you're up against the judge, because everything in this case kept giving the prosecution chances, even when they would mess up. Because once again, they're not being given a lot with testimony, but there are things that they have in hard evidence. They're just not bringing them all together to make it cohesive, right? And then this star witness's testimony is not helping. So then, can't stress this enough, you cannot do this. Judge Glanville supposedly has a secret meeting with the witness and the prosecution, but not Young Thug's lawyers, right? It's something in Latin that I don't know how to pronounce, but you're not supposed to do it. And basically, in this meeting, this witness is then threatened with the dangled immunity and everything. Oh, we'll charge you for this. We'll hold you in contempt for 2 years. We'll put you in jail. All this stuff, unless you start testifying, unless you start answering questions to the best of your ability. I don't want to hear any more of this pleading of the fifth, all that stuff, right? And so then they go back to court, and he's answering questions so well that the defense gets suspicious. Defense is like, what happened between now and lunch? All of a sudden, he remembers everything. He remembered what color everybody was wearing. And then it comes to the defense lawyer's attention that there was this secret meeting. And so he addresses it in court, in front of the judge, to the judge. He goes, Your Honor, I've heard some distressing news that there was a secret meeting with you, the prosecution, and the witness. My client and I were not privy to. I don't know what was discussed. This person's acting different now. Like, what is this? And the judge, instead of denying it, instead of being like, that's a horrible accusation, that's not true at all, the judge goes, who told you that? can look at it. You can look at it because it was live streamed. You can look. Who told you that? And he's like, Your Honor, don't worry about who told me that. That's the least of my concern. It's who told me that. The meeting is my concern. He's like, no, I need to know. This is very distressing. I need to know who told you that. And he's like, Your Honor, it doesn't matter who told me that. Is that true? Like, did that happen? Who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that? Who told you that? Over and over and over. And it's just wild that, like, in a RICO case involving supposed gang members, that the judge is like, who snitched? No, for real, who snitched? Huh? Like, hey, I need you to come up out them names. Who snitched? Ain't nobody play with. Look, I will bust everybody in here right now. Who snitched? And Thug's lawyer is like, no, look, I'm not going to tell you, all right? I'm not going to tell you how I came upon this knowledge. I'm just asking you if this happened. I'm asking you, maybe even for a mistrial. Like, how could this happen? He goes, who told you? Who told you? I'm going to give you 5 minutes to tell me who told you. And Thug's lawyer is like, I don't need 5 minutes. I'm not going to tell you. That should be the least of your concern. Like, is this true? And he's like, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me. I will put you in jail if you don't tell me. You will go to jail if you do not tell me. It's like, look, I'm not going to tell you. You can put me in jail, but the problem is the meeting. The problem isn't who told me, right? And so then the judge does it. He holds Thug's lawyer in contempt, which is pretty terrifying. You know? This judge is basically going over and over again. Who snitched? Who snitched? I can't stand a snitch. And you know... And you couldn't see Thug's face in the moment, but he had to have been like, I know, right? Yeah, so then Glanville does it. He holds Thug's lawyer in contempt. And, you know, the Bar Association hears about it. And they show up to back Thug's lawyer up because that's terrifying. That's terrifying if a judge does something, doesn't even bother denying it, and then holds you in contempt for asking. That's a scary court system. You know what I mean? Because that's one of those things. If it can happen to anybody, it can happen to anybody. Like, I know that it's a case involving hip hop, involving like gang culture, whatever. But that particular thing, that could happen to anybody. I promise you. That's very scary. You know. And so the Bar Association shows up to back this dude up, and it looks like his case is going to be heard, and probably the contempt is going to be thrown out. But basically, they tell Glanville, it's like, there's no way you're impartial. If you're trying this hard, there's no way you're willing to just let the facts play out. And so Glanville has to recuse himself from the case. And one of the things about recusing yourself, it doesn't undo damage. The case just goes on, you know? So there's still this like contempt hanging over Thug's lawyer's head and stuff. And then they move on to the next judge, and the next judge was the judge for a day. I'm not a judge, and I don't know how judges get cases and stuff. Apparently this case was just given to her randomly and everything, and then she got the case and she was immediately like, hey, y'all, I can't. And so many people were like, why? What's the problem? Don't worry about me. I can't right now. And so then the case goes to the third judge. You know, the judge just, that judge. The case goes to her, and she does her best. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult because there are things happening in the case that should just never happen. They actually had an officer come in who was, I guess you could almost call him a specialist in RICO cases through his police work, right? And even he made a mistake on the stand that had the defense asking for a mistrial, because basically the state handled the case so poorly, so messy, just so confusing, right? That the defense would be asking for a mistrial consistently. They were asking for a mistrial the way that you act when you got 2 cards left in Uno. Anybody do anything, you're like, oh. Defense would call for a mistrial non-stop. That's a mistrial right there, Your Honor. He just sneezed. That's a mistrial. He gonna get everybody sick. Because this witness on the stand, his testimony, I'm pretty sure, had to be thrown out, because even though he's an expert in RICO and everything, 2 things were revealed that were pretty distressing. One, it's a RICO case, so they're trying to get everybody on everybody's crimes, but they never bothered to really look at the financial records of Thug. Which is pretty insane if you're telling me that all the money he makes, he runs through and to a gang. And you didn't bother to check a Chase statement or anything? That's wild. And then, while this officer is giving testimony, he makes a mistake that obviously wouldn't be called out by the prosecution, but does not get called immediately. And then the defense hears it, and then they're like, this is crazy, we can't allow it. Basically, he references past convictions as part of a testimony to what this person would have done in this case. And you can't do that. You got to judge it by the merits of the evidence you have in front of you about what happened right now, right? And at one point, the judge loses it. She storms out. The judge goes, I can't take it anymore. She hadn't even been the judge the whole time, but she was like, this is insanity. And you couldn't see his face, but you could imagine Thug being like, I know, right? Like, and so she almost grants a mistrial. There's a mistrial with prejudice and mistrial without prejudice. Mistrial with prejudice is basically don't even bring it up again. Mistrial without prejudice is like, okay, you didn't make the best case, or something happened, or a bunch of jurors went to the Dominican Republic, so like, we can try it again later.
And so, the judge at one point has had it with the prosecution and is giving like a full-on. You just so rarely hear people talk to like this on a live stream that aren't on a Zoom call at home. Like this, she was looking at the prosecution and she was at her wit's end, and she was like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, I don't know, with the years of experience that you have, I don't know if you were willfully trying this case as badly as possible, or if you were just so unorganized that you can't seem to string a coherent thought together on how 2 things are related. And we've heard testimony, there are people that don't show up, we're leaving at 4:25. Like, what is happening? And the whole time prosecution is like, you ever just take your talking to because you're like, yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, like the prosecutor had the same nod that dudes have on the street when they getting yelled at on Valentine's Day. It's just like, just go ahead and nod. Accept that you've messed up. It was so bad. And it'd be thing after thing after thing, whether it was jurors, whether it was judges, whether it was just wild testimony. There were people so uncooperative, right? Like, there was one point where they showed this guy a picture, right? And it's a picture of him and Thug and 2 other people. Apparently with the person, I don't know, I didn't see the picture, but apparently with the person who was murdered, right? Because because that's one of the charges. There's drug trafficking, there's like gun running, there's all this stuff, but there's also a murder, right? And when it comes to the murder, that's one of the big ones, because they're alleging that Thug paid for the getaway car, right? And so once again, not checking his financial record seems like an oversight. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying. And they show a picture, right, with all these people to someone on the stand, and they're like, "Do you recognize anyone in this picture?" And he's like, "I see me." Okay, fair enough. Even when it came to start with this, there was one time where they simply asked this dude, "When did you meet Young Thug?" And he was like, "Before I went to jail." And just for the sake of clarity, the prosecutor tried to clarify, which time before you went to jail? And he just goes, "You right." And I don't know how you handle this sort of thing, because this ended up being the longest trial in Georgia's history. Also one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, because I guess plea deals cost a lot of money. And it gets so bad that every day defense is like, "Hey, mistrial's still an option. You want to hit it with a little mistrial? We can mistrial." But then, the prosecution would do something that would kind of warrant a little bit of a mistrial. Like there was even one point where they had someone on the stand read a caption from an Instagram post, and this caption had been poured over because basically through the hashtags, what a lot was being alleged, because whenever there's letters, whenever there's numbers, it could have no meaning, or it could have double meaning, or it could mean exactly what the prosecution wants it to mean, it could mean what the defense wants it to mean. And so they were arguing about this one picture over and over again before they would let the person just read it out loud to the jury, right? Because then I don't know if it's a gang, and I don't know if that was what the prosecution was alleging, but there was one point where the prosecutor was asking someone on the stand about a series of numbers, right? And a lot of people will sort of rep their area code. That's just a common thing throughout America, right? Exactly. That one, that's one of those things. It's like it's so unifying. Everyone does it. Like sometimes you just can't help it. Yeah. But this is my thing. Dude on the stand, prosecutor asked him, "What's 374?" And he was like, "Numbers." Maybe it's a gang, maybe it's not. I have no idea, right? But basically, there's this one picture that's being poured over and over again, and this was the straw that sort of broke everything, right? Because they made agreements, and they had even redacted the picture so that only what would be read was what the prosecution and defense agreed on, based off of the evidence that they were both showing, right? But then when they actually gave the picture to the person on the stand, nothing was redacted. And the prosecutor had them read everything. And so then the defense is like, "Your Honor." I've never heard a lawyer have to like go, Your Honor, kind of like, Mom, like. But this was it, Your Honor. We just went over the thing. Why would Shaw? And sure enough, Judge agreed. Judge was like, look, I gotta do something else with my life too. Like, it's just, it can't just be this. And the judge said an interesting thing, and like I said, I know a little bit about the law, most of it, what not to do from this case. But the judge says something where she's like, I'm basically trying to salvage something here because I don't want an entire jury's 11 months to be wasted. I don't want, which to me is a little weird. Their time's already been wasted. Like, this is about seeing if someone did or didn't do something, you know? And so that statement was said, but then, you know, judge turns to the defense and goes, I'm not gonna grant you a mistrial with prejudice, but would you like a mistrial without prejudice? And defense was like, yup. And then she was like, I'm inclined to give it to you because this whole thing, this right here, no. No. And so then, you know, they get to plea dealing a bunch of people day after day after day. And then they actually go to Thug and they're like, look, you're facing like 25, 40 years for all the things that we are alleging, right? But we'll give you probation, right? We'll give you probation if you just admit that you are the leader of YSL, a gang where you take all the money and you funnel it through into the gang and everything they do is at your direction. Like if you'll just say that, probation, you'll be good to go, right? And then Thug says, no, I'm not just gonna accept. You came to me to make your case for you. I mean, no. And that's a very, I don't know, to me, that's a very, like, brave thing. Like, I don't even fully understand all of the conditions around the sentence that he actually got, but that was what he was initially presented with. And he said no. And then the state said, okay, we're going to make sure that you do 25 years. And that doesn't sit right with me. And it obviously didn't sit right with his defense attorney. His defense attorney brought it up when the judge was about to make a decision. Basically, he says, Your Honor, the state came to us and they said he could do probation if he signs this piece of paper, or he could do 25 years if he doesn't. And I'm just kind of curious why the state would allow someone that they're so sure is a racketeering, drug peddling murderer to go free with probation if they're sure, right? And that he'll do 25 years if he doesn't say what they're so sure of. And the judge was like, good point. That is very hard to argue against. You know? And then the judge granted Thug probation and, you know, he went home. And there are some people that are like, man, you know, if he could have just stuck it out a little bit longer, seen the trial to its end, there's no way he would have been convicted. The defense was ruining the state, like just at every turn. And it was mostly the state tripping over themselves, right? And I get it though. That dude sat in jail without bond. Dude was in jail for 2 years. He was in jail for a year while they picked a jury. He was in jail the entire trial, you know? And every once in a while, don't get me wrong, every once in a while, Thug would also laugh. Because, like, he was facing a lot of time, but every once in a while, he'd also be like, how did we get here? This seems... Far be it for me to say, I'm just a rapper, but as far as the law goes... But what? I don't know. I don't know. I get it. I get somebody tells you, hey, you just do 3 more months, you'll go free forever. Maybe. That's scary, you know? And it's also scary that, like, that the state needed it this bad. That a lot of cases come down to reputation over justice. You couldn't just take the L, right? It's like, no, you will die in prison for me to not look bad. That's terrifying, you know? And I know it feels like it can't happen. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't rap, but I could see myself in a bad situation. You know, because it kind of begs the question, you know, did this person get away with a bunch of stuff, or did the state just jam someone up for 2 years?
Latter.
You know, thanks. But that's my thing. It's like I don't even know, and I'm obviously not Thug. You know, I hope that everybody can like move on in the most prosperous way possible. I really do. Everybody that testified, everybody. I wish the best for everyone. I really do. I just can't seem to think. There's a level of peace you have to attain that I don't know if I have. Because like if someone accused me of being this like drug running, you know, murderer, this horrible person, like this that did all these things, and they were willing to put me in jail forever with a bad case that they didn't have enough evidence for, and then they were just like, you can go if you just sign it. I think it would make me mad enough to kill someone. But that's just me.
Boston, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I saw where the lottery, at least at the time that I'm speaking, has worked its way up to $1.8 billion. That's a lot. It's so much you wonder, should I?
Absolutely.
That's how they get you. You know, growing up my entire life, I knew people who played the lottery. And I don't know if I know any winners. I just know a few people went missing. And like hard missing too, not even a funeral. Like, I don't know, $1.8 billion. That means even after they tax you, tax is gonna take about half of that, right? Even after they tax you, you're probably gonna be a billionaire. That's instantly a billionaire. And I'm not saying this to like, you know, beat down on anybody or be disparaging, but it's like, who plays the lottery? People who need the money. So imagine needing money and then becoming a billionaire in like a day. A day. You needed 252. You had rent and a car note, and now you're a billionaire. A billionaire. You gotta capitalize the B. It's $1 billion. Even if they get you real good, even if they tax you to death, you're still high millionaire. And with some good investments, you'll hit billionaire over time. Look at. I don't think y'all understand. This is the thing, we think we understand what billion is because billionaires keep playing in our faces. But we have no comprehension of how much money that is because we're people. Forget multiple, a billion. You can't even waste that, a billion. You can imagine. Oh, I had some bad investments. $1 billion's worth of bad investments? That's enough to topple a small country. No, because I look at the billionaires of the world and the high millionaires, so almost billionaires of the world. And in a couple of the examples that I'm thinking of, right? If you make it to billionaire status, whether it's through valuation of your country or your company, or whether it's through valuation of your company or just general assets and everything over time, if you hit that billion status and you didn't grow up with a ton of money, like if you're already a billionaire, it almost doesn't count. You'll see billionaires, they're the sons of billionaires, and they'll be like, I made my own thing. It's like, you didn't though. But you didn't. You never really did anything. And look, I know you probably worked really hard, but your hard work had a $1 billion head start to it. So it's just, you could make a bad idea worth $1 billion. If you put enough money behind it with enough time. Look at Crocs. And look, that's not me. No, look, that's not me just dunking on Crocs for the sake of it. I'm saying as a shoe, you are so unprepared to go into the world. Every time it rains, you kind of feel it. I've had so many fights with my friends over Crocs, and it's not about the Croc or the design or whatever. It's about the fact that it's a Swiss cheese shoe. The holes make it a shoe problem. It is not like okay. I live in New York, and we have far too many. I don't even know the number. We have more, I believe, rats than people. I'm pretty sure there's probably 10 million for every 2 people in New York. And one time I was walking with my friend who had Crocs on. Ill-advised, especially in New York. If you want to wear Crocs in I don't know, like a beachy town, go ahead. Be comfortable. Let your feet breathe. Wearing Crocs in New York City, wearing Crocs in New York City is like wearing a shirt that on the front and the back says, "Please rob me." That's the level of prepared you are to go out into New York City when you're in Crocs. My friend was in Crocs, and we were just walking down the street, okay? Just nice little stroll, having a conversation. And then, as you would expect when you are walking in New York, as it is almost law when you are walking in New York, a rat ran across our path. Some people have to deal with deers in the road. We have to deal with rats on the street. And this rat running across our path judged it wrong. Was a little late. Usually when you're walking in New York, a rat will run across you real fast up ahead. This rat must have had some hesitation. You could tell this rat was like, okay. You know what? I'm not going to do it. No. I'm not going to do it. Actually, no. You know what? I can do this. Let me get. Ah! And then it ran across our path. But by the time it ran across our path, we were at our path. And this is upsetting. Sorry if you're eating. But the rat ran across our path, but by the time it decided to cross the sidewalk, we were already there. So this rat ran right over both my feet. And then it came time to run over my friend's feet. My friend in Crocs. And this rat looked exactly like, you know, with football players doing that spring training with the tires over here. The rat was nimble at first. It got through 2 holes, no problem. Third hole, rat tripped. Animals don't trip like people, you know what I mean? People might trip, be a little embarrassed, but we get up and we know we have a day to continue. If a rat gets tripped up in your crock, that's the rat's whole priority right now. Because to be fair to rats, they get trapped all the time. How is this rat supposed to know this isn't one of those rat traps that take you to rat heaven? And so this rat starts freaking out. It starts like trying to pull the other leg out and everything, but then the next leg gets stuck. And so now this rat is, it has been 0.0 seconds, by the way. This rat has already tripped and is stuck in 2 crock holes. And is over here fighting for his life to get out. Is doing whatever he can. This rat over here, And look, I'll be honest with you right now, I don't even know if I imagined it, but I swear I heard it. I heard where the rat got free because I heard the little pull the little foot out of the crock hole and then ran away. And then my friend, who had just been defending his Crocs, had the nerve to be like, I'm like, yeah, cut it off. You need to cut it off. Ran over my foot too, but look at me. Intact. And so you have even if it's not the company, the CEOs of these companies reach high $1 million billionaire status. You know, and it happens usually over time. Usually, if you don't come from money, you reach billionaire status or high millionaire 20, 30 years of your life. And being a psycho as well, like working 80-hour weeks and like just doing crazy stuff. And sometimes you get to get ahead because you cut some corners or you cheat some people or whatever it is. But then when you turn around and you have this like multi-billion-dollar valuation, you did it. And it took all that time, but like you're 30 years removed from when you started. These billionaires, these millionaires, the ones that don't come from like extreme wealth, takes 20, 30 years of your life to get that money. And look how evil they are. I can only imagine. I can only imagine what happens if you get it in a day. Look. For any amount of lottery winnings and for any amount of like money, when you dream about money, that's what we do. Someone's like, what would you do with $100 million? And you might even have a list already. What would you do? And you think you know what you would do. And I'm not even saying that people are lying when they say these things. I believe that people really believe this is what they would do with the money. But then you're a billionaire in a day. Nothing can prepare you for that. Nothing can prepare you for that much money being that much power in a day. I don't know, like, I know what I'd like to think I would do with that much money. Because the amount of money that you've been living on is the amount of money you need to live. Right. Like that, like, I know that in the US, like in America, that's like blasphemous to say. But it's like, even when I was broke, the amount of money that I had, which was not enough, was somehow still enough because I'm not dead. Do you know what I mean? And so obviously people need to get by. People deserve a higher quality of life and everything. I'm not saying this to say that if you're barely scraping by, that's all you need and be done with it. I'm just saying that sometimes you can get in your head, especially when you get a little more, that you need a bit more, and then you need a bit more, and then you need a bit more, to the point where people around the country who make six figures say they don't feel rich, right? And some of them making the high six figures. They've done studies about this and about why your brain never turns to rich when it's you and it's over time. You'll see millionaires say, well, I'm comfortable, but I'm not like rich. And then you're glad that it's through a screen, or else you might... But, I don't know. I mean, what would that do to a person? A day. A billionaire. Who knows? Maybe money really does change people in a way that you can't even fathom until you have that much money. Maybe you get $1 billion in a day, and out of nowhere, you don't even recognize yourself. $1 billion. And you're just like, wow. Huh. I could use some slaves. I think that... Look, I don't know what makes you so evil as a billionaire over 30 years, but I can only imagine it's exacerbated when it's overnight. Like, I can only imagine it becomes instant when you get the money instantly. That's crazy. Because look, we all have a list. Even if you act like you don't, you do. If you want that much money overnight, you might have a list. There might only be 5 things on your list. Hey, I want to take care of my friends, take care of my family, want to travel, and I want to help in a way that I've been helping, but I didn't have the money to really push the help, right? So that's what, 4, maybe you have 5 things. But then, after you do all that, maybe you have some money left over. What do you do with that money? Can you make another list? Can you make a bigger list? Maybe. But if you can't, you just keep trying. Oh, you know, let's fix the roads. Let's try to fix the school system. Let's try to... But then there's still some money left over. What do? I think you might lose your mind. That's probably why billionaires are like that. Because think about it. Look, their list didn't have any of the stuff I mentioned on it. But like it... But even though it didn't, it clearly had things that they cared about, whatever those were. And maybe they were only related to their company. Maybe they were only related to more business and getting more money. But even as those things got checked off and you tried to keep up with the list, you tried to make more goals and you were meeting the goals as fast as you were making the goals and everything. And then everyone around you is a yes man because they want some access to that money because they're also trying to climb, right? And then you finally have gone down the list so hard that you're just like, maybe Mars? What about Mars? Mars would be cool, right? Like, Mars would be dope. Does people starve? Mars, though, that would be dope. And it's like, yes, it sounds dope. And I hope he goes. I hope he does. Like, that'd be fire. If he went to Mars. spend your fortune as the richest man in the world to be the poorest man in the universe. Because I guarantee you spend your whole life and then you finally, let's say it finally happens, you have a voyage to Mars. And let's be as generous as possible, and let's say that like the rocket works, you already sent enough stuff there that it's not like quite the movie The Martian, but it is like that because you are going to be by yourself. You know? No, I'm just, probably. And then you land in Mars. Richest man in the world. Lands on Mars, gets out, is walking around and realizes that Mars is just like Arizona with some extra tent to it. Like, looking around like, oh, okay. Whoops. Because money is, we'd like to think that it's more than this, and sometimes it is. You can point to points in history where it is more than this, but like America is money. Land of opportunity. Opportunity is access, but it's also money. Money is how we define identity. Maybe you don't as a person. Maybe, I don't believe any one person is just their job or their net worth. There are things that you are that are deeper than all that stuff that's going to pass away. But that is how we as Americans define each other, is money. In fact, when you get your identity stolen, it's because they mess with the money. I don't know of anyone who said they got their identity stolen and it was in a Lifetime movie sort of way. I have yet to meet anybody who said they got their identity stolen and they know it was stolen because they came home and there was a dude who looked just like them hugging their wife. And they were like, honey, it's me. And then she was like, And then the imposter was like, don't listen to him, honey. It's me. Can't you tell? And like, hey, what are you doing in my house? And then the kids run in and they run up to him. Hey, Dad, who's this stranger? What? Kids, it's me. And they're like, we don't know you. Our dad's been home all day. And then you have to fight with this dude. And then, there's somehow a gun in the house that nobody knew about. And then y'all struggle, and then y'all are spinning, so then nobody knows anymore because y'all were wearing the same thing. Who's the real husband? Who's the fake husband? And you're you're just running around, grabbing the gun, knocking the gun out of each other's hands, and then, there's some bounty commercials in the middle because this is a Lifetime movie. But then you pick up the gun and you're like, get out of my home, stay away from my family, right? And then the imposter goes, and then runs up to you and y'all hug one last time. The gun goes off and nobody can tell who was shot until what is it? Until the Nair commercial. Like Nair, that one, like, I've watched a lot of Lifetime with my mom and my aunt. And so then they come back from commercial and y'all are both backing up and you're like, somehow in a movie, whenever somebody has been shot and someone shot someone, they both react the same. I always find that very annoying. The person that pulled the trigger is like, but then the person who was shot is like, And then y'all back up. The gun falls. It falls in the middle. We don't need it anymore. One of you was shot. And everybody's backing up, and then you see some blood. You see blood, and then you see blood because y'all were hugging when it happened. So whoever got shot also bled on the other person. So it's been about 5 minutes, and we still don't know who was shot. Very frustrating. And then finally, one of you goes, you'll always be my family. And the other one turns around and looks at you. The wife and the kids go, "Dad!" and hug them. Then credits start rolling. The picture gets a little bit smaller because they got to roll the next movie right next to the other movie. So it's like it gets that little half-size thing where the credits are rolling, which actually sort of ruins the end of the movie in case there was any other note of anything that the director wanted. But anyway, and through the credits, through the little tiny half screen, you see the person hugging the family look up at the camera and go. And identity is never stolen that way. It's always stolen in relation to your bank account. No, because that's who you are. That's who you are to the bank, and that's who you are to any business entity is your money and the number that you are. You know. Now look, I would like to think that everybody knows that everyone's more than that, but that is how you break down. That's how you're calculated. You know what I mean? You're moved around as a number, and the numbers that make up the numbers you have are how people see you. You know? So when you get your identity stolen, it's not because they actually stole who you are. They stole who you are in a version of how people see you for your money. Having your identity stolen is terrifying because you don't know when you'll get out from under this. It's you. It's you. But the bank doesn't know that. You might as well show up to the bank like you just got home to see your wife and kids and there is an imposter next to the bank teller's booth right with you. Y'all might as well be shoulder to shoulder. Like, no, I'd like to make a deposit. No, I'd like to make a deposit. Because you also have to factor in what that money doesn't just do to the person, what it does to the people around them. Some of y'all may not remember this. I barely remembered it until I started just reading about people who had won the lottery and what usually happens. Because there's this myth that everyone that wins the lottery goes bankrupt and ruins their life. It's not actually true. It's about half. Which are better odds than winning the lottery. And the difference between the people who crash out and the people who do well are the decisions they make as soon as they win. And now it's almost down to a science. There are people who are financial advisors that seek out lottery winners to help them because they've done it for other lottery winners and stuff. But there was this one woman. It was crazy. This happened in the 90s. I think it was 1990, right? This woman was a server, and she got tipped a lottery ticket. And so she, put that lottery ticket in, and she won. She won $10 million. And then everyone around her turned. The people who were also on shift with her, they tried to sue her. Because I don't know if this is one of those restaurants where, sometimes you work as a server and everyone's tips are pooled together and then you split them at the end of the night. Or if it was just that they were saying that was their table. I don't know what all the lawsuits were, but I also know that the man who tipped her the ticket tried to sue her. Yeah. Her ex-husband even kidnapped her. And she had to shoot him in the chest. The chest is one of the wildest places to get shot. Because there's still some plausible deniability there, but you know where you were aiming. And then the IRS came for her. Walls closing in all around money. Because people will do crazy things for money, and people will let the idea of money shape how they treat a person. Money is only second to people in the idea of something that's in front of you that means a bunch of different things. People can mean the whole range of emotions to you, but so can money. if someone won $10 million, if they won $1.8 billion, some people see that as money, but a lot of people see that as hope. They see it as power. They see it as like a salvation out of their problems. They see it as whatever your imagination can mold. Because there are some people that if you got given $1 billion right now outright, there's so much good you do with it. And then there are other people that if you got $1 billion tonight, you'd be like, oh, I have some things to revisit. Now, $1 billion. $1 billion means, you could buy everything around a person. You could buy everything around. Imagine for $1 billion, you could hire a private investigator to find your high school bully. All right. Because let's say they're not on, maybe they're not on social, not everybody is, and so you hire this private investigator to find your high school bully, and maybe this bully gave you like a really catchy, mean nickname, maybe it was something that happened to you, something real bad. Maybe you got sick at school one day, and maybe you didn't make it to the bathroom, right? And so he called you Wet Willie for 4 years, right? In this scenario, your name is Willie, and you hire this private investigator to track him down. Maybe his name's Travis, right? You're like, find me Travis. And so then the private investigator says, hey, I found Travis. He's living in Connecticut, and he's married, and yeah, looks like they're pretty happy. And you're like, okay, this is good to know. And so, with your money, you buy the house that's for sale next to Travis. You're moving in one day, and Travis and his wife are walking in to their home, and you're moving one of the boxes. Nothing in the box. You don't need to move. You can pay people to move for you, but you're like, oh, hey. Travis? And he's like, oh, Willie, Will, wow, how have you been? Wow, this is crazy. Are you? Yeah, I'm moving in right next to you. That's crazy. That's crazy. He's like, yeah, that is. Wow, this house has been on sale for months, and now it's what a coincidence. And you're like, yeah, coincidence. Yeah, that's what it is. And you see that not only do you have this nice house in front of you, but, ooh, Travis has a phenomenal house, There's an HOA, so they're pretty similar, but overall, very big and very nice, And right then, Travis's wife walks up, Susie. Susie walks up, and she's like, hey, babe. And then he's like, hey, me and William went to high school together. This is my wife, Susie. And you're like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And you shake her hand, and you're like, wow, this is crazy to just, you move to a new place, and you don't know, usually you don't know anybody, and now I got pals right next door. And Travis is like, yeah, this is wild, man. You should come over for dinner sometime. Come over for dinner. And you're like, oh, wow, how's tonight? And Travis, because this is the thing about bullying. A lot of bullies don't remember what they did. And even if they remember what they did, they remember it in the context of whatever they were going through. And so even if they were like a mean kid, they just remember being a mean kid because other stuff was happening. I don't know how often real bullies think about the fallout of their bullying and what it might have done to somebody present day, So maybe Travis is perfectly pleasant. Easy to believe. It's been a long time, And so he's like, yeah, I think no. Okay, we do have a little date night tonight, but how about tomorrow? Tomorrow night, we should have dinner. You just come over to our place. We'll cook for you. And you're like, wow, yeah, Travis, it sounds great. All right, I'll see y'all later. You take your empty box. Walk into your new house with no furniture in it. But you don't need furniture. You're here for revenge. The type of revenge that only money can buy. You know, and you're so excited, you don't even know if you can sleep, and so you lay on the floor of your brand new house. Because hate makes you comfortable. And then the next day comes, right? The next day comes, and you know, you've had a private investigator on Travis for a while. You even had a private investigator on Susie. You already know her name. And so the next day, during the day, you go over to Susie's workplace. You know, Susie works at a salon, right? And so you go over and you're like, hey, what? This is crazy. Wow. Susie, neighbors, and then I need a haircut? You do hair? Wow. You get Susie to give you a haircut, and you know when you're getting a haircut, when you're getting the wash, the shampoo, the conditioner, and everything, there's time to talk. You get to know a person. Or pretend to, because you already hired a private investigator. So you land in the sink and y'all are chatting it up, and you're a personable enough individual, so y'all are cackling back and forth. And then at the end, Susie puts the mirror in front of your face, you know, and you're like, wow, a magician. Truly incredible. Thank you so much. And then you go to pay, and then you put a $10,000 tip on your haircut. Susie's floored. What? I can't accept this. You absolutely can't. I haven't felt this good in years. You made me look like a new man. In fact, I don't know, like, I'm sorry, I never do this, but like, are you doing anything after work? And Susie's like, yeah, the dinner that we have. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. But, okay, I don't know, it looks like salon's closing up and everything. Dinner wasn't gonna be for a little while. I don't know. Do you want to hang out for a little bit? We're gonna end up chatting anyway. Let's just chat. Let's just have a chat, and then we'll head over to your place. And you're like, does that sound okay? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. It's fine. Yeah, close up here, and then you're like, okay, yeah, hop in my car, right? And she hops in your car. It's very nice. It's ridiculous. It's whatever car is nice for the period we're in. So just imagine. Imagine the type of car, and it is that. And Susie's also impressed. She's like, wow, okay, you must have done very well for yourself. And you're like, yeah, I do all right. Because then, no matter what car it is, I assume it goes fast, right? And then he's like, actually, I know I'm new to the neighborhood and everything, but can I show you something? And she's like, yeah, sure, okay. And you drive. You end up driving to this like little patch of land that's off by the wayside, and there's a small little airfield there, and you park, and Susie's like, what is this? And you're like, oh yeah, I got a call, you know, it was a text while you were doing my hair and everything, and there's just something I have to check out over here, so let's just walk through. And you walk through this little air hangar, and it's to your private jet. And she's like, wow, you have a jet? And you're like, yeah, I do. I mean, I guess it's a false alarm. There's nobody that needed anything. Yeah, nobody's even here. I tell you what. How about this? I know we're supposed to have dinner tonight at your place, but why don't we go to Paris? She's like, Paris? You're like, oh, I'm sorry, do you prefer Milan? We can go to Milan. What are you even saying right now? I'm like, oh, no, I'm just saying, you know, we're supposed to get dinner. Let's have dinner. We have dinner without Travis. And then she's like, oh. I don't know what to say. What is the tip? And then now he's invited. I'm married. No, I know. I don't know. Now? Yeah, now. Actually, you know what? And then the stairs. You know. Wow, my heart is just skipping a beat. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And you're like, great. And so then you both hop on the jet and, you know, taxiing and everything. And just before takeoff, you send Travis an audio message of the entire thing. You add a little something at the end. You're like, this is from Wet Willie. Because now you have $1 billion and you could be good or you could... Because that is how bad things are now. We used to make fun of people that played the lottery, and now it seems like a sound fiscal decision. It sounds like a sound business plan to save a little money, put a little away, and buy some lottery tickets. You know, it's either buy some lottery tickets or, you know. Lean in front of a BMW. You know what I mean? Like you gotta lean in front of a BMW, coming at about, I don't know, slowing down, so hopefully about 12 miles per hour. You know what I mean? Enough to do some damage, but not quite kill you. You know what I mean? Like when you get hit, it's gonna make that sound. You're gonna hear some stuff. Some of that stuff's gonna be you, and some of it's gonna be the car. You might even lose consciousness for a second, but you will, you know, hopefully wake up. And there's some real technique to it too. I don't know if you saw that video. There's a dude who you could tell he was too. You could tell he was too nervous. He shouldn't have done this, and not just because it's fraud. He shouldn't have done this because you could tell his heart wasn't in the grift. You know what I mean? His heart wasn't in it. Like some people, the grift is who they are. They buy into the grift completely. When I was a little kid, my elementary school teacher got into a fender bender, right? and got in fender bender with this dude and bumped him just enough to get a little bit of separation, but you could tell that she had hit him, and he immediately got out of his car, went into the trunk, pulled out a neck brace, and laid on the ground, right? Which, if you're gonna do that, just wear the neck brace the whole time. Then you'll even convince the person that, I'm not gonna tell you how to grift, but so if you're gonna do this, you gotta commit. You gotta know long before this BMW takes that turn at the intersection that this is what you're committed to do. And there's a video of this dude. This is still cracks me up, right? Okay, so this dude over here, you can tell he wants to jump in front of the car. Maybe he has the whole insurance scam planned out and everything, can sue, whatever. You just gotta let a BMW hit you and hope it's not a rental. Yeah, it is. Oh, nothing would make you madder than getting hit by a broke person. And so then it's over here waiting, right? And like just from the CCTV, because this is how I watched it, right? Just from the CCTV and the clip, you can tell that there's some nervousness in the knees. Like the knees don't scream commitment. You know what I mean? Like they're not, his feet aren't amped to do it. They're not like hoppy feet. You know what I mean? Like this is like, ooh, I'm gonna do some fraud. Ooh, you about to get defrauded, right? But he had more of a, oh, okay. All right. Okay. Oh, all right. And you could tell he was thinking too much about how he was going to land. That's the problem. Because you got to know, if you're going to jump in front of a car, you got to know, okay, am I going to be mostly grill or mostly windshield? All right? Both have their drawbacks. All right? Now, grill will push you forward. It'll push you forward an amount that will make you look dead to a bystander. So that is a good way to go if you're trying to do this with witnesses, and witnesses who are not in cahoots with you, right? Windshield is very dramatic, right? Windshield is very theatrical. Usually when you see, they do a lot of windshields on like Law and Order SVU. That's usually, you know like when somebody running from the cops and they can't seem to catch them. They give them just enough room for them to run out of the streets for the cop who didn't feel like running to hit them with the cop car. It's always very convenient when it's like 3 cops and then 2 of them run after a suspect, and then one of them is like, oh, all right. And then sure enough, they're always there at the right time to just bow, right? Now, if you're gonna go windshield, just know that some glass could crack, okay? And it's worse if it doesn't. If the glass doesn't crack at all, you got hit by a big bullet, okay? But if the glass cracks and you roll over the glass and maybe you land on the side of the car, that also looks very bad. But depending on how you hit the windshield depends on how believable the hit is. Because when you get hit by the grill, you're just taking the hit, right? Just boom, boom. High risk of being hurt. Very high risk. Windshield looks a little bit more, oh no! Ooh, you got me. Oh, what will I do, right? Because you can't really control your body as it gets hit and it's on the windshield. So you hope you go over the windshield. That looks like a very bad hit. But if you stay on the windshield, it starts to look like your fault even if it wasn't. Like it's just, the optics aren't great. And if you slide off to the front, it looks like you didn't get hit fast at all. And so you see this dude, okay, oh, all right. and then he goes for it. But not only did I see him in the clip, in the CCTV video, you know, like thinking about it too hard, the person in the BMW also saw him thinking about this very hard. And it didn't help that he chose to do this at an intersection, which means they were going to be slowing down anyway. And so then he finally goes to jump into the street, and they've already come to a short stop because they saw him coming. But look, he's already put a lot of thought into this. He will not be denied. And so even though the car is almost at a full stop, he goes, obviously the claim didn't go far. But you could do that, or you could play the lottery. You know what I mean? Because I really do hope that the person or the people that win, like have a good life and do something well with it. There's so many scams now. Sometimes if the person's identity is known, that's actually what like ruins their life, because then there are scammers who will never meet this person, don't know this person, but then they will masquerade as them online, hitting up people around this person trying to get whatever private information so that they can scam that other person, not even the lottery winner, you know? And it's why people have become more savvy. Now you have lottery winners all over the world, not just in the US, and not just for like the Powerball, Mega Millions, or any of that. Now you have lottery winners in the US show up with like a ski mask on. So many lottery winners look like they're there to rob the lottery. You know? And I don't know, I just look at the lottery as like maybe one of the best metaphors we have for how America is. You know, because you know, we all participate. That money is pooled together, and it is, and I don't mean in terms of ownership, I just mean in terms of how the money came to be there. It is all of our money. It is all of our money pooled together for 1 to like 6 people to have. In fact, sometimes you'll watch the lottery. You'll watch someone win, and you'll be like, huh, wow, I worked at a company like that. That's crazy. Because some of what the lottery of trying to make it in America is luck. We like to think it's hard work, because then that means everybody could do it. But that's not actually the case. I know people who have worked hard my entire life, and they were on a hamster wheel, they were on a treadmill, and they were just trying to keep up because somebody was pressing the speed up on the hamster wheel. That's what it feels like is happening to everybody right now. You know, you're doing your best, and the speed just keeps, and then, you know, some people are on a treadmill where the speed just keeps getting increased. Some people, look, to their credit, they have some golden handcuffs. Maybe they're doing a little bit better than everybody, but the margins that they live in are just as thin. And so they're on like a Stairmaster. They're up higher than the people on the treadmill, but, you know, they still run the risk of falling off at any given point. And so the other person's running as hard as they can. This person's stepping as high and as fast as they can, because if they can skip a step, it's not going to keep them good forever, but it'll keep them level for a while. And so everybody's working as hard as they can. People who make 6 figures, are still thinking, I don't really have enough to get by. That sounds crazy to anybody who's living off of less than 50K, somewhere where the standard of living, you need to be at like 80K. There are people scraping to get by. And so rather than just accepting that this gym sucks, people just keep going as hard as they can until they, either their heart gives out or they end up in one of those like fail videos. Because look, it's $1 billion. It's a billion. That's a lot. And I know it's the lottery, and I'm just making an example. I'm not specifically speaking to everyone to like go run up to the lottery office or something. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. I think that we have let the lottery basically become one of the better ways to get ourselves out of a mess, you know? And it only gets you out of the mess. Maybe you can bring some people along with you. That's nice. That is nice. But you don't know everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you know your friends and your family, and that'd be very sweet for you to take care of your friends and your family, but you don't know everybody. You don't know everybody's intentions. You don't know what everybody's going to do with the money. You don't even know if giving some of these people the money is the best thing to do. You have no idea. And maybe it's why, speaking outside the lottery now, maybe it's why like people shouldn't be able to amass that level of wealth. Not because I want to take from somebody the thing that they have for whatever reason. Maybe they really did earn it. I don't see how, but like maybe they really did earn it. Maybe they deserved every like $50 million bonus that they ever gave themselves, right? Maybe they know their heart and they know that they really deserve this money. But maybe, you know, they laid off a bunch of people and they bought a bunch of stock back and they did some stuff to do some stuff to get some stuff, you know? And so I'm just saying is, you know, it's one thing when it's a lottery. It's a different thing when it's like our entire, you know. Because then they wonder. I don't know. Then they wonder. They're like, why is everybody so mad at us? It's like, oh, you can't not really get it. It seems crazy. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm an American. I would love $1 billion. It's probably part of the problem.
When I